Hey folks, welcome to another edition of My Car Guru. Today is one of those shows where you really need to focus and listen and not just hear me because, well, to give you an example, my wife, she sits on one side of the room, I sit on the other when we watch TV. And she'll say something to me and I won't respond. And she'll say, "Did you hear me?" And I'll say, "Yeah, I heard you." And then she gets the killer question. "What did I say?" Okay, I heard you, but I wasn't listening. Now, that won't set her off trying to file for divorce or anything because, after 46 years, the options are limited. Well, probably for me, maybe not for her. She's a lot prettier than I am. But anyway, this is an important episode because I'm going to tell you what the warning signs are. So when you drive into a car dealership, let's say that you haven't called, you're wanting to go car shopping, and the whole game starts, okay? So I'm going to give you the warning signs that you need to look for that at some point or another you may decide, okay, we're leaving. Or you may get extremely cautious and careful. I'm hoping you're that way all the time. Not mean, I don't mean that. Not being a jerk. I'm just talking about careful, listening, and then also controlling the conversation. Because what does the salesperson want to do? What is he trained to do? He is trained to follow a process that his bosses, his sales managers and dealer have set up, and they know that leads to, more often than not, a profitable sale. They don't just want to sell a car. They want to sell a car at the highest possible profit margin they can. If you responded to an advertisement, then a lot of dealers, not me, but a lot of dealers are disappointed. They're hoping you didn't see that ad where they were offering to sell Nissan trucks for some ridiculous low price. They're hoping you didn't see that because then they can just start from scratch. Lots of times when that is revealed is when they finally present you a price and you say, "Wait a minute, they were a whole lot cheaper on the radio." A salesperson says, "I'll be right back." And he's running to his sales manager and, he doesn't know what to do. And then that happy sales manager comes in, "Well, we sold that one." So these are warning signs that you need to look for. What's the first one? Well, the first one is if the salesperson asks real early on, "What's your credit like?" That's a dead giveaway because they're looking for low-hanging fruit. They're looking for people that have marginal credit because they are the easiest ones to take advantage of because they're payment buyers. Anybody that they can identify as a payment buyer is like going duck hunting and the sky is black with ducks. You shoot and you can't miss. That's a flock of payment buyers. So don't be that. So if they ask real early on about your credit, say, "Well, let's not worry about that. Let's just move on. We want to find the right car for us, and then we'll talk about credit." Fair enough? And he said, "Well, I'm going to have a credit app." So you don't have to have a credit app. You want to just show us cars? At this point, if he keeps going like that, I'm done. I'm gone. I'm traveling to another dealership somewhere else. Okay, the second thing you want to look for, starts talking price, payment, etc. before investigating what your needs and wants are. Why are you there? What are you trying to accomplish today? I'm not going to say, walk up to a customer and first thing out of my mouth, I'm going to say, "What you doing here?" I'm going to say, I'm going to welcome to the dealership first, thank them for coming in. And at some point, I'm going to ask them, "Well, what would you like to accomplish today? You want to just test drive some vehicles, look at what we have in inventory? Do you want to get some pricing?" Most people say, "Well, yeah, we'd like to. We'd like to test drive some stuff and look around, see what you got. We saw this online or that online." And, you feel like the salesperson is there to help you. Can you sense that? I think you can. And I think you can sense the opposite. Okay, another thing. Now, this is later on, or this could be early on. If you decide you get hungry, you want to go get some tea, or you want to go, I don't know, go to the mall or whatever, but they resist letting you leave when you say that you want to. Oh, don't leave yet. Let my manager, he might want to talk to, that kind of stuff. If you fall into that trap, that guy that he's got coming to talk to you, he's really good. And he might be able to talk you into staying when you had no intention of staying. He'll offer to buy your tea. He'll send the salesperson out to get you, a T-bone steak if that's what it takes to keep you on the lot. So, if you sense that reluctance on their part for you to leave and go, live your life that particular day, you might be at the wrong place. Again, this example of running to get the manager, whenever he runs into difficulty or whenever you're getting ready to leave or showing any signs of indifference, that's not a great sign. Okay. I like to talk to customers before they leave. I like to do it just to gather information, to meet them. They might be listeners to this program. I just want to meet people. I like folks. I just do. And that might be my motivation. That you might have run into a salesperson, even on my lot, that just, didn't trip your trigger. He was having a bad day. He and his wife had an argument this morning, and you weren't getting really what you needed. That's a good reason for me or one of my managers to intervene, because it happens. Have you not gone into a business and you were dealing with an indifferent sales rep or employee? Boy, I have. There's a whole lot more of them than there are the good ones. But when you do get a good one, boy, isn't it just great? Doesn't it feel good? They show you around the store. They point out where things are. They don't pressure you to do anything. You ask them questions and they have the answers. That's another thing you want to look for. Does the person, when you ask questions, do they have any answers? If you're looking at a F-150 and you ask them, well, how much will this tow? They say, well, I don't know. I have to check the book. Or do they say, no, this particular truck will tow up to 12,500 pounds because it has a towing package on it? How's that make you feel? You ask them a question about the engine. How much horsepower does it have? Bam, it's right there. How much torque does it have? Bam, it's right there. These are things that you like to see and should expect. Now, you may still want to buy that brand of vehicle at that dealership. You're just talking to a salesperson that doesn't know his you-know-what from a you-know-what. And so it's okay to say, listen, young man, I appreciate you and everything, but I need to talk to somebody who really knows the product and doesn't have to go look every time or Google it. No, you don't really want to hurt his feelings, but you're there to buy a car. You're there or to gather information. And if he has no information to give you, then ask to speak to somebody that has a little bit more product knowledge, because you're there to gather information. And there are no more brochures in car dealerships. Oh, we get some. One box. Brochures used to be the big thing. We don't even have a brochure rack in our showroom. We have video screens. And I don't like it. I like brochures. I like to touch the feel of a magazine or a book and a brochure. I've got a stack of old brochures over here on my table, my little conference table. And this is from a collection that I inherited. And they're wonderful to go through. They give you the specifications. They talk about all the features and the benefits of the vehicle. That's nice. I like that. A lot of people don't just don't want to look online. They want to touch it, feel it, hold it, read it. Okay, what else? Let's see on this list. Oh, focuses on payment, down payment, not on the price of the car that you're buying and the trade. This is so important. I don't want to gloss over this, so I'm going to take my first break. I'll be back in just a minute. Okay, so we've been at the dealership for a while. This lousy salesperson has not run us off yet. And he's getting better. He's warming up. And then we start talking price. We sit down. We sit at his desk. He disappears for 15 minutes, comes back. They've appraised our vehicle. And all this guy wants to talk about is the payment and the down payment. You don't have a clue what you're paying for the car. If he comes at you and he's got a blank piece of paper with looks like somebody's written on it with a permanent marker. That's old school Foursquare is what that is, and he wants you to. The Foursquare is a negotiating technique, okay? And you're not looking at like a document that's been printed out, that has the price, the tax, the trade, anything else that's included in the sale. All of that stuff, you want to see an itemization of that. You don't want to see some scribbling from some sales manager. It says $749 a month with $3,500 down. Well, how much is that for the car? How much are you selling the car for? Well, I don't know. I have to check with him. Why don't you just print me a bill of sale? Let me look at it. And then I'll know what I'm looking at and what we're talking about. But if all they want to focus on is payment and down payments, you're in the wrong dealership. You really are. Now, a lot of you are saying, well, I can't afford the payment, then I can't buy the car. That's right. But don't you want to know what you're paying for the car, what you're getting for your trade, how much the rebate is taken off of that before you get to the monthly payment? Because that's what you're paying for the car. And then over time, yes, you're paying for all of that plus the interest over a certain period of time, and that will determine what your monthly payment is. I mean, if you get down to the wire and your monthly payment is $704 a month, and your budget only allows for $500, then that's why a lot of dealerships want to talk payment up front. But here's the problem, and it's your fault because you didn't do the math before you left the place, or before you left your home. You should know how much car you can buy. All you have to do is use a payment calculator and figure out how much car you can buy to get the payment that you want. Look at it at 60 months, 72 months, 84 months. I wouldn't recommend you finance a car any more than that. Try not to finance it for 84 months, please. Pay enough money down or wait until you have enough equity in your trade-in, if you ever do. But save up money and finance a car for 60 months. If you have to finance it for 72 months, I get it because cars are really expensive. The average selling price is almost $48,000 now. Another thing you look for is they won't tell you what your car is worth. At any point, the manager went out there and appraised your car. What did he say my car was worth? Well, I really don't know what your car is worth, but let me go see what kind of numbers I can get you. And then he comes back and all he wants to tell you is what the monthly payment is with this much down. You'll notice also that they'll never say what the term is. When they're that kind of dealership, they'll give you the payment, they'll give you the down payment, but they won't tell you what the term is. And you'll, not knowing and not thinking, not using your head, you'll say, no, I can't pay that much. But if you get it down another $50 a month, I'll do it. Well, he goes to the desk. All they do is extend the term 6 months. They come back to you and say, well, we got the payment down to what you want. And what are you thinking? You're thinking they cut the price. They didn't cut the price. Matter of fact, they may have raised the price. They just financed it for an extra 6 to 12 months. And because you had no idea where you were. I mean, it's like playing golf blindfolded. You might be able to hit the ball, but you won't have any idea where you're going. So you have to know what the selling price of the car is, target number 1, what the trade-in value is, that's target number 2, what the term and the monthly payment is, that's target number 3, and number 4, what else do they have stuffed in that agreement, like extended warranties and gap insurance and protection packages of all different types and prepaid maintenance. What else is in there? When you go buy a car, nothing's supposed to be in there at first. That's called payment packing. It's illegal. Look up the Federal Trade Commission. And if they're doing that, if you walk into a finance office and they say, by the way, we've even included an extended warranty for 6 years, 100,000 miles for that very same payment. How lucky are you? That's called payment packing. He wants you to believe that they're giving it to you for nothing. But no, you're paying for it. And if you took it out, your payment would be $50 a month less. Wouldn't you like to know that? And you have the opportunity to decide whether you want it or not? Of course you would. Watch out for this one. Now, at this point, can you back out of a deal? You sure can. You haven't signed any contracts. They start playing games in the finance office. Would you be embarrassed? Well, you shouldn't be. This is business, folks. This isn't a popularity contest. And if you don't have enough guts to get up and walk out when you feel you're taken advantage of, then it's not their problem, it's your problem. No is an acceptable answer. You'll be surprised how much scrambling people will do when you say, no, I'm not doing that. The old timers used to say, Lanny, you need to get your pencil sharp. See, people don't know what that means now. What that means is they wanted a better deal. They wanted a bigger discount. Of course, back in those days, a lot of people didn't finance it. A long-term finance contract was 36 months. They thought you were crazy if you financed a car for 48 months. And then one really obvious thing to me, you may not notice this kind of stuff, but I certainly do. What if the place is messy? The desktops are covered with a bunch of junk. It's disorganized. You just get this sense of disorganization. The bathrooms aren't clean. They've got dirty facilities. Their cars are all dirty. The lot's got crap all over it, cigarette butts and discarded Dixie cups. The landscaping is all overgrown with weeds. These aren't good signs. These people aren't paying attention to the details. Okay, let's jump to the service department. If you go into service department and you get semi-indifference, they're not warm, they're not welcoming, and they're not focused on you. What do you do about that? You can just say, listen, can I speak to your service manager? If you don't feel like you're getting something from them, talk to their boss or go in and talk to a sales manager in the dealership. So, listen, I'm trying to get my car serviced in here, and these people aren't listening to me. It's like me when my wife, says something while we're watching TV. I heard her, but I didn't understand what she was saying because I wasn't listening. Another bad sign is if you have to continually repeat yourself. Like he asked you 3 times, what's wrong with your car now? When did you say it does it? What did you say your name was? Oh, I hate that one. Well, sir, my name is the same name that I told you 5 minutes ago. That'll get their faces red. Okay, let's see. Also, an effort to sell random flushes. I'm not a big fan with a lot of these flushes. I don't think the manufacturer is either. It's a profit center. So some guy says, we need to flush your brake lines. Do you really? 75,000 miles? No, you don't. I don't know that you ever need to do that. Flush your power steering fluid? Really? I don't think so. Flush your transmission? Maybe. Flush your cooling system? Yes. I do believe in that. That's a good one. That's something that I would do to my car if I got, I get up there around 60,000, 75,000 miles, I'm flushing my cooling system, getting all new coolant put in there. Make sure you put in the right brand. Also, another bad sign to service department is they are unsure about whether you have coverage or not under your warranty. They should know unless you are slightly out of warranty. And this is something you need to always ask about. You always need to call me about this one, 423-552-2020. You're just out of warranty and you have a major failure or even like an air compressor or a water pump or something like that goes out. And let's say your warranty ran out 3 months ago or 10,000 miles ago. Most of the time, if you ask them to double check and you call customer service and get a case number, you'll either get all of it covered or the vast majority of it covered. But you got to ask. Don't assume that because your warranty expired that you don't have goodwill coverage available. That's what we call it, goodwill coverage. Okay, and what always comes up with me, again, is the facility, the workspaces. Are they neat? Relatively neat. You're going to have some clutter in a service department, a little bit. You're going to have tickets, repair orders laying around, depending on what type of system that they use. But that's not a good sign. Another terrible sign is they won't keep you updated on the status of your repair. If you've left it there and it's been there for a while and they're not calling you, they're not proactively reaching out to you, then that's not a good sign. A terrible sign is if the bill keeps escalating. You got to put the brakes on that. You got to go to the dealership and say, what is going on? Why do you guys keep calling me and saying I need something else? I need something else. I need something else. Sometimes repairs are just that way. You don't know what the problem is until you take everything apart, and then you can see what the true problem is. But they should tell you that on the front end. They should not be pricing a bunch of stuff as they go in. They find stuff wrong. They should just wait and then tell you what the whole shebang is going to be, like my dad used to say. Let's see. Or repeat repairs, again, for the same problem. Second time, it's okay to still deal with the service advisor. Third time, I'm not talking to the service advisor anymore. I want to speak to the general manager or at least the service manager and find out what the heck's going on. Again, be nice. Nice people get more. Yelling, screaming, it doesn't do you any good. People don't want you around when you are a jerk. So just keep that in mind if you happen to be one. Okay, I'll be back in just 1 minute. Okay, I know I'm going really fast, but I have to. There's a lot to cover. In the finance office, you've agreed to buy the car. You're sitting there. The first thing you need to ask for, say, before we do anything, could I see the bill of sale? Sometimes they call it the sales contract. Would you please print that out for me and let me see where we stand, make sure it jives with what they were showing you out front. This is where you catch the payment packer. Okay, this is where you catch them trying to slide something in because it's going to be revealed on that bill of sale because it itemizes all the different things. Another bad sign is they won't show you what a base payment is. If you're a payment buyer and you say, well, what is my base payment with no warranty, with nothing, just the price of the car and the sales tax and maybe registration. What is my payment based on that? And then we'll talk about this other stuff. You got to have them print out a contract. It's very important that you see it and make sure that it jives with the sales contract or the bill of sale. Those are two different documents, okay? The sales contract / bill of sale, and then the finance contract, which you sign that tells the bank or the financial institution that, yeah, you'll pay for this thing. And if you don't, they'll come get it. Okay, and the final thing that I want to share with you is the use by the finance office of memory sticks or flashcards. Instead of printing out all of your paperwork and putting it in a nice folder and handing it to you, they put all your paperwork, they store it digitally on a flashcard, and they hand that to you. And the reason they do that is because they hope that you'll never read it. Because if you do, you wake up the next morning, if they print it all out, you say, I'm going to look at that paperwork because it's laying there on the dinner table. They open it up and say, wait a minute, I didn't want gap insurance. I told them I didn't want gap insurance. So you go back down to the dealership and you tell them that. And they say, oh, I'm sorry. But they're really not sorry. Well, I guess they are. They're sorry that you found out. And so they know that if they put it on a flashcard, you'll never look at it. You may not look at it until you clean out your purse the next time. And that might be a year from now. So if they start to hand you one of those things, say, no thanks. Print it all out for me. Well, we don't have a printer. Yeah, you do. There's a printer here somewhere. Print it out for me, please. Or you can mail it to me, but not on a flashcard. Well, I hope a lot of this helps. Sorry I had to go so fast. There's a lot of material to cover. If you have any questions, call me 423-552-2020 or send me an email to LennyLawson2020@gmail.com, and I'll see you next time.